Professionals don't improve from taking more trades. They improve from getting better feedback. You can trade a lot, you can backtest a lot, you can even journal a lot, but if you don't reflect on the trades you have taken, you will not grow. To me, I fundamentally believe that reflection is the highest leverage skill, but yet it's also the most underrated skill in trading. To me, it's not about doing more, it's about reviewing more, it's about reflecting more, because it's not just about putting in more reps, it's about having multiple rounds of iterations of your trading plan so that you can improve your edge. And the only way you can get multiple rounds of iteration is by reviewing the data that you have collected. So that is why I have this process. It's called the end of day review, right? Which means at the end of each day, at the end of each trading session, I go and review the trades that I've done for the day itself and just think about how you could improve tomorrow. So when you do this end of day review, what happens is that you are protecting tomorrow's performance because it shows you based on data, not based on emotion or guesswork, what are the tasks that you should repeat tomorrow, what are the stuff that you should remove. Okay, like based on this, I can see, okay, this trade tends to work out at this timing, this entry model tends to perform well within this session. Cool. It resulted in a winning trade. Cool. That means that I need to do more of that tomorrow. If that didn't work out so well, then perhaps I shouldn't do it anymore tomorrow. That's what end of day review does. It gives you the awareness on what works and what doesn't work, so you can do more of what works and less of what doesn't. All right, so yeah, let's say in this case, I've been trading. Today I lost about $441 and I traded outside of my trading window, right? So maybe I forced a trade because I was bored and I want to feel some adrenaline, feel some fun in my life, and as a result, I pretty much broke one of my guardrail. Cool. So close all my positions, lost about $441. Now this is where I go to my trading journal, and this is where I go to today, right? So I open up today, and this is where I'll do like a quick little 10-second scan on everything that's going on here, right? Because this just gives me an overview on my trading performance today. I look at my net P&L rate. Okay, cool. Win rate, average R multiple, right? Since, I lost every single trade, obviously 0%. Total trades that I've taken 3, right? And how many did I win? How many did I lose? And then this is where I review the process-oriented metrics. Okay, so remember, in trading, there is your outcome-oriented metrics, and then there is your process-oriented metrics. When you focus on the process-oriented metrics, the outcome-oriented metrics will take care of themselves. Right, so this is where I look at, whether I was actually disciplined today, whether I actually followed my trading plan. Did I follow my plan? Yes or no? Once again, this is all tech based on your trading, right? So when you're trading, if you selected that you follow your trade plan, it will show here. If you selected you didn't follow your trade plan, it will show here as well. And then below here, this is where you can track your guardrail violations, right? So you can track which guardrail you actually violated, if you did violated any, right? So in this case, I traded outside of my trading window. And then you can also see whether you completed your pre-market routine or not, right? Because there's probably like a direct correlation between whether you conducted your pre-market routine and whether you actually make money on the day itself. Yeah, so this is where I see I didn't do my pre-market routine today. And this is where I can see how many trades have I journaled so far. Since I just completed the trading day itself, right? I never really got the time to actually go through the trades that I've taken to like just go and journal them. And that is exactly what I'm going to do next. Right, but before I go in here and journal each trade individually, what I'm trying to do when I go through the daily overview is to try to answer a few questions in my head, right? Just to interpret the daily data. And this is where I'm asking myself, did I follow my trading plan, right? Did I trade the plan, or did I give into emotions or guesswork or my gut feeling? Did I break any rules, right? Did I violate any guardrails? Was today execution clean, or was it messy? Did I do the boring work like following my pre-market routine and journaling my trade, or did I skip it? Right, so these are like the 4 fundamental questions you should ask yourself in your head, right, when you are scanning through the data for today, right? Once again, this just allows you to know whether you actually followed the plan, whether you actually followed the process, or whether you just anyhow trade, right? Inconsistent actions, inconsistent results. So once that's done, this is where you can go through the trades that you have taken individually, right? Like literally go and identify the best trade, the worst trade, and then what are the trades that you have won, what are the trades that you have lost, and then just go and journal them individually. Okay, so let's say today I come in here and this trade was my worst trade. Okay, so this trade is my worst trade. This is where I will come in here and think about what broke. All right, so this is where I fill up everything in here. Once again, I'm not going to go through how to do that in this video because I did go through that on how to do that in the how to journal your trade lesson, right? So please you can check that out if you haven't done so. But this is where after you are done journaling every single trade, you should have an awareness on like what went wrong, right, on your worst trade and what went right on your best trade. Okay, so this is where once again, it's time to review. Okay, after you're done journaling the trades, you fill up all of your entry criteria, your trade management rules, your mistakes. Now is the time to review all of this data, all of this quantitative data, and also all of this qualitative data, right? All of the feedback when it comes to your trading performance, and also all the feedback when it comes to whether you actually followed your trading process. Okay, so when you are analyzing your best trade, this is where I would highly recommend you to ask yourself these 3 questions. What created the win, right? Like, okay, was it because price does this? What happened, right? What was the trigger? What allowed you to actually make the win itself? What allowed you to get that sniper entry? How do you manage the trade itself? So all of this is literally answering the question, what created the win? And the next is, what do you do right that was repeatable? Okay, so if you have made this amount of money because you execute your trade plan flawlessly, then ask yourself, what do you do right this time that was repeatable? So in the future, you can repeat the same win again. And how do you repeat this exact execution tomorrow? Today, I make $5,000. Cool. I've caught one standard trade. Cool. How do I repeat this same win tomorrow? Does this mean that I need to do the exact same process that I did today? If yes, then do it again tomorrow. So that's how you break down your best trade. And then when it comes to how to break down your worst trade, this is where you want to ask yourself another 3 questions, right? What caused the worst trade? You want to be very specific. Which rule is it? Which movement? Which trigger? What resulted in you losing that $5,000? And then was it a good loss or a bad loss? Once again, we already covered this concept in the how to journal video. Good loss is basically a loss that you incur as a result of following a trade plan. Bad loss is a loss that you incur because you neglect your trade plan, right? So you deserve to have a bad loss if you didn't follow the process. So was it a good loss or a bad loss? Because if it's a bad loss, then you want to be careful, right? That's like a red flag right there. And then what is the one fix for tomorrow, right? What is the one thing you can do tomorrow to prevent yourself from getting into this situation again, from getting into this bad trade again, right? Maybe you need to adjust your guardrails. Maybe you need to change your trading rule inside your edge. Maybe you need to implement some form of no trade condition that you will enforce so that you don't enter the market randomly anymore, right? So that's how you reflect on the worst trade. And another thing that I really like to go through is just the guardrail violations, right? Because there's a lot of sort of feedback in here. Usually when you violate any of the guardrails or violate any of the trading rules, you will realize that you tend to lose money. It's a pattern, okay? But on those days where you violated guardrails and you still make money, those are the days that you want to be careful, right? Because what happens is that you just got rewarded for bad behavior. And we all tend to repeat the behavior in which we got rewarded for in the past. So if you make money on the day where you violated your guardrails, where you violated your trading rules, where you neglect your trade plan, then you shouldn't be celebrating. You should be thinking about, okay, I was undisciplined today and I made money. So to me, maybe I don't count it as a win. From tomorrow onwards, I'm just going to continue sticking to the plan, right? So that's how you can like catch yourself in the moment and just prevent you from, being unconscious by just neglecting your trade plan just because you got rewarded for it. But anyways, like I said, this is very important, right? It's to just check whether you had any guardrail violations. This is where if you violated a guardrail, you want to really just take a mental note in your mind and think about what rule was violated and why it happened. So right now in Edgeflow, there's this feature which tracks the reason on why you violated a guardrail, right? So after the trade button is gray right here, you can continue trading, but we require you to actually input a reason. And when you input a reason, that reason will show up over here. Okay, so this is where you can review the rule that was violated and just reflect on why it happened, what was the reason you violated the guardrail, and then take action on it, right? Improve. Decide one change that you can make tomorrow to, prevent you from getting into this dire situation again, right? Maybe you need to implement a tighter rule. Maybe you need to adjust a guardrail, right? Maybe give it a little bit of breathing room. Maybe make it even more tighter. Maybe you want to reduce the amount of trades that you're taking per day from 5 to 3 trades only. Maybe you want to shorten your trading window because you find yourself like trading outside of your desired trading window a lot because you're bored, right? Because you want to get the adrenaline, right? But this is where you can really like just think about how you can adjust your guardrails so that you can protect yourself and you can protect your capital. If a violation happens, then tomorrow's plan must change in some way. Okay, so this is my rule. If you don't change what you do, you will just get the same results, right? So if you notice that you're violating a guardrail over here, this is where you want to think about, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow to prevent myself from committing this same mistake again, right? Maybe I wanted to change my trading plan. Maybe I don't, right? Because it could just be I got emotional today, right? Maybe I want to do some form of meditation before I trade tomorrow to become more conscious of my emotions, right? So whatever it is, remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. Okay, when you do this review, this is where you break the loop. This is where you break the cycle. Now, once you're done with journaling, right, this is where I personally will go to Sanctuary. All right, so like I said, after you're done trading for the day, you know, over here you took an L, right? You lose about $441. Immediately go to journal every single trade in here. If you don't know how to journal, please go and check out the lesson where I did on how to journal your trade. And then once you're done journaling, you want to be reviewing, right? You want to be reviewing the daily stats. You want to be reviewing the stats on each individual trade. And most importantly, you want to be reviewing the reflection on that particular trade itself. All right, so those are like the 3-point check, all right? So check your daily data, check your individual trade data, and check your qualitative feedback on your trade. Yeah, that's it. Once all of that is done, then you go to Sanctuary. All right. So once again, I'm just going to tell you how I personally perform my end of day review. This is not a sermon. This is a documentary. I'm not forcing you to do it. All right. I'm just telling you what I personally do to ensure that I'm making the best out of every single trade that I took. I'm actively improving every single day. So I fundamentally believe that for every hour you spend on chart work, you should spend an additional hour on the inner work. Because like I always say, the market is simply a reflection of you. The market is a mirror. The reason why it's so difficult to trade on the live account is because it exposes your greatest weaknesses, your shortcomings, and your flaws. And all of these are internal. So if you don't fix all of this stuff internally, it's going to reflect in your trading results. Your P&L is simply a reflection of your character made visible in numbers, right? So for every 1 hour you spend on chart work, you should spend another hour on the inner work. And that's what happens in the Sanctuary. So after I'm done reviewing my trades, I like to go to Sanctuary to close my day properly, to close my trading session properly. And if I'm done trading, this is where I'll come in here and I'll do like a 10 minutes meditation. Once again, this just allows me to, just let go of the past trades, right? Let go of whatever has happened today so that I can move on to tomorrow with a clear and focused mind. Because remember, your past outcome does not determine your future results. Just because you lost the last trade doesn't mean you will lose the next trade. Or it also doesn't increase the likelihood that you win the next trade. Because every single trade outcome is random, right? So what humans tend to do is that we tend to bring the past into the present. We tend to think that, okay, we have just lost 5 trades in a row. Now I'm going to lose the next trade, right? Now I suck at trading. But it doesn't really work that way. Okay, so this is where when you do that meditation, what you're doing is that you're doing a mental reset. You're really resetting your internal state back to a mental equilibrium so that you can really like just focus and stay grounded in the present moment. So yeah, this is where I just come in here. I like to just not put any sound when I meditate and then put it to 10 minutes meditation and then just start just like this. Just sit here, meditate for 10 minutes. Once done, then this is where I will just chill out, right? That's pretty much the entire end of day review. Actually, that's one more step. Okay, but I'll share with you later. But anyways, if you don't want to do a meditation, right, there's alternative as well, which is our mental exercises and psychology tools right here. if you feel wired, you still feel emotional, right? You still feel that emotional residue in your brain, from just now, you still feel the anger, you still feel the greed, you still feel the fear, you still feel the compulsion to continue trading, right? You just can't seem to like step away from the laptop. Then I will highly recommend you to go to Reboot in the Mental Toolkit and just do a quick breathing exercise, right? Whether that's the box breathing, whether that's a 60 seconds reboot, whether that's the reset, right? Just do one of these. And if you're fully done for the day and you want to recover, or you want to learn more about trading psychology, learn more about how to master your emotions, then you can check out either the videos that we have in Rewire or Recovery, right? So both of these are very useful. Like for example, after you win, you might want to check this video out. After you lose, you might want to check this video out. After you feel the need to revenge trade, or after you have already revenge traded, you might check this video out. Before you sleep, you might want to check this video out, right? So you can see we have different sort of mental exercises in here to help you downshift, to help you reset your nervous system, to help you calm down your parasympathetic system, and just overall help you detach from the P&L so you don't carry today into tomorrow, right? So yeah, that's for the meditation, right? That's for the inner work itself. Like I said, it's very important that you do your inner work. And next is Flow AI, right? So the last step is available for people who are on the Plus or the Pro plan, right? So if you're on a higher tier, this is where you get access to Flow AI, which is our trading companion, right? And I've built it in a way where it literally sounds just like me. I've trained it to be pretty much me. And also like my trading coaches inside the 1% Club. This way, it feels like I'm just by your side at any point of time, 24/7, right? But anyways, this is Flow AI. This is the first version of Flow AI. In the future, we will have a much more advanced, a much more powerful version of Flow AI. So for the first version, it doesn't automatically see your trading data yet, right? It doesn't know the trades that you have taken for today, which means that you need to provide it with a quick summary. You need to provide it with some context, right? But like I said, in the future, Flow AI will have access to your edge flow trading data, so it can coach you automatically without you typing anything. But for now, this is the first version of it. So what you want to do when it comes to Flow AI is that you want to like just tell it about anything that you have encountered so far, right? Any problems that you have encountered today, right? Maybe I revenge traded today. Okay, simple things like this, right? Or I felt a compulsion to trade even though I lost money. Now, after I lost money, right? So something just like this. You can literally talk to him about anything, right? So treat it as your trading coach, just right by your side. Whatever mistake that you have made today and you don't know how to fix it, right? You can just ask it and then it can present a solution for you. But what I like to do is to use this format right here, okay? Today, I made $500 on trades, on trading GPUSD. The biggest mistake that I made today was, I did not follow my plan. I felt angry. I felt disappointed. What should I focus on tomorrow? Give me one fix, right? So this is the template that I like to use when it comes to end of day review, right? So this is where I will send this to Flow AI, and then based on this, it will give me an answer, right? It will literally tell me, da 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 da. You can see this is very important, all right, right here. What you want to do is to get the fix for tomorrow. What you want to do is to get the actionable step that you can take tomorrow to improve. And then you can even ask follow-up questions like, what was my biggest leak today and what most likely caused it, right? Or, yeah. And then since you already give you the one adjustment for today, maybe you could say like, what's one adjustment I should focus on next week? Right, and you can see it keep on giving you solutions. It tells you, okay, based on your diagnosis, right, you didn't comply with your trading plan, and as a result, right, maybe it's because like emotions overrode structure, and as a result you feel disappointed, and this disappointment suggests internal conflict, right? Because you made money but you didn't follow your trading plan, right? So that might be a win that you are not proud of, right? Because you actually bent your rules. So here's a solution for today: no entry until every single checklist is green, and you want to maybe place your edge on the screen, right? And just follow the trading plan, get a confirmation before you press the buy and sell button, so on and so forth. Yeah, so you can see this is something that you can play with, right? Very, very cool feature that we have inside Edgeflow. And then based on this, you can have like a final one key takeaway and just write it as your focus for tomorrow, right? Just write it in one simple sentence. Tomorrow, I'm going to be following my trade plan. I'm going to be reviewing my trade plan before I trade. I'm going to make my trade plan visible and binding during execution. When you do this end of day review, this is where you will be able to find the most amount of data points. This is where you will be able to find the feedback that you truly need to improve your edge, to improve yourself. This is where you actually get better. Because like I always say, trading is the easy part, right? Like it's easy to press the buy and sell button. It's easy to make money here and there. But reflecting, that's the hard part that most people avoid. And that is also why most people stay stuck, right? They don't want to review their trades. They don't bother to do so. And as a result, they do the same actions. They get the same results, which give them the same emotions, which further reinforce this loop of unprofitability. Like I said, until you break out of the matrix, until you break out of the loop, until you break out of the vicious cycle, you will keep on getting the same thing over and over again. The market will just keep on teaching you the same lesson over and over again until you have learned it. This is a method that you can use to actually learn the trading lesson once and for all, move on to the next lesson that the market has to offer you, right? So at the end of the day, close your session, review your best trade, review your worst trade, review your daily stats, learn the lesson that the market is trying to teach you right now, reset your nervous system in sanctuary, right? And if you're on the plus plan or the pro plan, use Flow AI to pressure test what to focus on tomorrow. What is the one thing you can do tomorrow to get better? And if you just keep on doing this, keep on striving to get 1% better every single day, over time, these 1% gains compound. 1 year from now, you're going to be a completely different person. You're going to be on a completely different trajectory. You know, you might even be profitable by then, right? Maybe even in 6 months if you just do this every single day. All right, so yeah, do this daily. Watch your performance compound because remember, nothing changes if nothing changes.